I'm in the criminal justice group.
Louder, thank you.
My topic today is the increase in police violence and police-related deaths. First, I want to talk to you about what is police brutality. Then, I want to talk to you about the different types. Lastly, I would like to talk to you about how this impacts us. First, what is police brutality? As definitions go, it is the use of unnecessary, excessive force while a police officer is arresting or detaining an individual. In about 38% of all cases using force, 38% of them are excessive force. Cops are given the right to use force if necessary, but sometimes it's unclear how much force is needed for each specific case. According to the use of force legal analysis on nevada.gov, police brutality is defined as maliciously and sadistically with intent of causing harm. Well, there are certain reasons that police brutality occurs. Some reasons are because the police officers themselves are not getting the respect they want or need, or they are being verbally abused by the suspect. 67% of excessive force cases are actually defense through verbal abuse. Some cases are from power abuse. Police are given a certain amount of authority when they are working, and when they don't get it from the respect they want from other people, then they tend to get angry and face it, they're just human. Next, I would like to talk about the different forms of brutality. There are 3 different forms: physical harm, verbal abuse, and psychological abuse. First form, physical harm, is the obvious beating with fists, weapons, slamming against the object, choking, or use of tasers. An example of this will be the UC Davis students who are pepper sprayed during a peaceful protest, which is qualified to use excessive force because it's peaceful. They weren't attacking anyone, so they weren't supposed to be attacked like that. And this came from the San Francisco Chronicle. The other verbal and psychological attacks is cursing, field stops and searches, threats, or racial profiling. Another case is Timothy Thomas, who was shot and killed by Cincinnati police officers. He was a mentally ill homeless man, and he was shot and killed by Cincinnati cops, and he was a 19-year-old black man who was racially profiled against because they assumed he had a gun even though he had no signs of a gun, or he didn't show one, he didn't reach into his pocket or anything, he just was shot. And this is a racial profiling case, and it's found on NBCnews.com. There are certain statistics up here. These are the amount of cases that are going on and where. I want to talk about the effects of police brutality. Police brutality, it generally causes wounds or even death in some rare cases. And Kelly Thomas, a 37-year-old mentally ill homeless man, was one of those cases where death was involved. The police, on July 5th, 2011, in Fullerton, California, the police, 6 cops, tasered and beat him for around 10 minutes because he was ill. He wasn't able to communicate with the cops, and they just saw it as a disrespect that he wasn't listening. The cop said that the new force was necessary to bring him down because he was out of control, but video evidence showed that he was on the ground within the first few blows and there was no reason to go that far. Some psychological trauma will be distrust. Would you trust someone who goes out of their way to make sure you're in harm? 1/3 of victims of violent crimes don't want help from the police officers. Instead, they don't call for help or when the crime happens. This forces citizens to take the law into their own hands. Another psychological trauma would be stress, anxiety, fear, insomnia, depression, and this is coming from the Student National Association of Medical Association. In conclusion, I would like to say that police brutality is a rising concern to me and to other Americans, and it causes many different harms, psychological and physical. Thank you.
While I'm thinking of it, those people